Okay, I'd like to call this meeting of Thompson Select Board to order. August 10th. Before I go to adjustments to agenda, could someone keep that door open? I don't want them to think we're having an illegal meeting in here. Thank you. Before I go to adjustments to agenda, I'm told by our Zoom techie person that when folks are having second conversations in the audience, Zoom is trying to pick that up sometimes, and it cancels what's being said by the board or by Terry. So if people are going to have conversations in the audience, I really would request that you take them out into the car or something, so Zoom doesn't try to focus on the private conversation that's happening between two folks, if that's agreeable to everybody. Adjustments to the agenda, I have two.
I have two too.
I want to add exception of Lane Sturdivant's resignation from the RSU 13 board, school board. And I'd like to add, after technology committee mission statement, an item to discuss the comments on the draft letter from our attorney regarding comments on the MD Midcoast Internet Development Corporation bylaws. That kind of got left off because we had to do that when the agenda had already been sort of, so I apologize for that. Jeff, anything from you? Walter? Harry?
Yes. I'd like to add to accept the tennis court donation from Rachel Snow in the amount of $100 and the Maine Municipal Association election.
For the executive committee?
Yep.
Okay. We do a new business just following G?
Yep.
Actually, if we could just make that a tennis update, we can do the donation, and I have some brief information that's agreeable to you.
Yep.
Okay. Public comment for items not on the agenda.
We have no sound.
As a whole. Last week we had too much sound.
You're fine.
Hmm?
You're good.
Okay. Okay. Review and approval of prior meeting minutes. I would like to table the minutes of July 15th. I think Terry and I got some wires crossed on some comments that I had on those minutes. I could get them all to that effect.
I would move that we table it.
Second. All discussion, all those in favor? And then we have the minutes of the 20th.
And I would move the passage or acceptance July 20th, July 20th.
Discussion, all those in favor? Gary, I'll get.
Yep.
Is department head reports. We have several in our reports. I must say I am very impressed with Corey.
I was beating it much.
Extremely impressed. I feel it's the first time we've ever had an idea of what this show is doing, and I would ask Harry that you pass it along to commend them. I'm going to try to do that myself. And Jeff, you were gonna reach out to him too and chat with him a little bit about our ordinance history and all that stuff.
I thought it was the other way.
Well,
But
I think you need to be. Curry seems to strike me a little shy, so. Any other comments on any of the other reports? Nothing. Okay, old business technology committee mission statement. Request of Cliff Dasco, and he provided us with a draft statement, which was very brief. I'll actually read it. Our technology committee is charged with covering evaluating communications and other technologies that could be of benefit to the town, and reporting these to the select board in a timely fashion. Comments?
No, that, I think it's great. I tried some word changes, but it's fine. It's great.
Okay, I was thinking about welcoming recommendations from them. Not just reporting, but I guess we can interpret that broadly. So, is there a motion to approve that?
Second.
Further discussion? Anything? The two technology committee members present? Good, okay. All those in favor? Okay, here's where we add in the comments. Our attorney on the bylaws, which came out today as a result of our meeting last Wednesday or Thursday. I really didn't have a chance to go over them in detail, but we're up against the gun.
Yeah, I did. I think in my mind, do we want to list all of those issues that we had with the local agreement? Leave the paragraph that said we have.
I personally do want to listen. Okay. I think personally that's really the most important ones, and although we've been invited to comment on the bylaws, it sort of gives us an opportunity to comment on the interlocal, which we are never asked to comment on. It was done before we, pretty much. So I would be in favor of listening.
Conceptually, I am in favor. And I've wrestled with, is it more appropriate for us to raise those if we join? But I think very basic things that issues with in a local agreement, and whether we become part of it or not. Here.
And I also am going to suggest that we CC this to all the other towns. I had a chat last night with Barry Hall, who's St. George's rep to the coalition, or was. If the coalition's this, or their secondary rep, or I'm not sure, whatever. And I talked with Ron about it, Thompson, and I'd really like to CC it to the other towns, including the member towns.
Yeah, I agree.
That was going to be one of my comments, as well as Cliff and Ann and I did have one technical comment. Find it right at the moment, but there's something where she said in the draft that about us not wanting to participate at the time or something to that effect. Anybody see that?
I did not, and I actually, so I thought she left it broad and open.
Well, what I wanted to do was add to that section, except that we're committed, I think we are, when we go to the next agenda, right? The axiom study. If that passes when we go there. But wish I had checked it. I know it. I started.
John, you got a hand up here.
Yeah, well, I was gonna get to you too.
Okay.
In a second. Well, why don't you go ahead while I look for that, unless, do you guys have any more specific?
Yeah, there's a
comments?
typo or a misnomer in the section on the interlocal agreement, and it's 1, 2, 4. This bullet, it says or to contact another entity to do so, she means contract.
Yeah, okay. Anything else? Yeah. Go ahead, and I'll continue.
Okay, so I've got a couple of sort of general things and then a couple of small. On the first page in the first bullet point, I think he wants to say that makes it unclear whether it's referring to municipal member of the corporation or a member of the board.
Yes.
Yeah, and then also section 9.1, I think it might be stronger or clearer to say, starting on the second line, pursue financing and make assessments to members, comma, using an established equitable formula by which members are expected to contribute, rather than breaking that into two.
Where are
That's
you?
strictly it.
Where are
Section
you?
9.1. Line
Yeah.
3, basically, members, comma, using an established. You might want to do that. A more general question is like, what further back up, section 5.4 A and B are conflicting. When there's stuff like that, do we want to suggest a resolution of that? Like what we think might be the answer?
I don't. Our job to pay our
Okay.
attorney just.
That's fine. I want to question, procedural question. On
But
the-
that's just me, I don't know.
On the second page, it's kind of disorganized. And so what I'm wondering is, if they could just, I can give you an order in which it goes from how do we feasibility and build out to joining to the organizational items, the operations items, and the withdrawal items. If you don't care, that's fine. But I found it very difficult to follow in the setup in which it was. And that's a pretty easy cut and paste
I'd like to hear that.
solution.
Actually, I'd like to hear that, but can we number these initially? and-
Yeah, number them good down.
Because one of the comments I had is I'd like to see them numbered,
Right,
as opposed to bullets, it's much easier
Right.
to refer to them.
right, so if you number them 1 to 10, then I can call them out specifically.
Okay,
And there's a sort of an editorial thing in there before I get down. Number 5, which is a withdrawing member, starts there. At the end of that first line, it says, option to purchase the improvements. Do we want to be more specific than that? The capital improvements, I don't know. I mean, maybe we don't.
I don't know, I think the improvements leaves it broader
Okay, that's
than
fine.
but
That's
what
just
do you
a
do?
question.
What do you do?
Yeah, and again, I go back to the real nut of this is the first paragraph. All this is just such as. So
Yeah.
these are all.
That's
And they're not specific things to fix any of the interlocal agreement, they are
Right.
problems with the interlocal.
Okay, and the second line of that, it should be take on responsibility for providing service rather than to providing.
So, in
We are in bullet point 5.
5,
Um,
take on
And then
responsibility
mine-
for providing, okay.
And my suggested ordering of this, but this is just me. It would be to have point 8 first. First, you have to complete the feasibility study before anybody's gonna jump, right? Feasibility and build out, so that's 8, and then,
Well, that's actually 3 people parties,
Well, that's fine. I'm just saying, this is a kind of logical flow.
Yep, that's fine.
You can do whatever you want.
No, I understand. I'm just saying to you that when you said nobody's gonna join, 3 people already have, so.
No, yeah.
For.
Yeah. What now?
For.
Cool. Well,
Or,
okay,
okay, so,
we'll retain my opinion.
no, that's fine, go ahead.
And then I think, so it goes 0.8 and then 0.1, which says there needs to be a formula or state basis.
So 1 becomes 2?
I guess, yeah, you can keep track of where we go from there. So I've got feasibility and I've got joining, which is number 1.
So 1 becomes 2 in your,
Yes. I hadn't quite gotten there. And then I think you want to list the organizational bits, which are 10, 3, and 6. I think.
so you have an order on those or just,
So that would be not articulated, so that would
Okay,
be
so-
4 and 5.
well, I'll make 10, 3, the other one was 6, was
Yeah, 10, 3.
6 is 4, and 3 becomes 5, okay?
And then I think the operations one, which would be 6, 2, 4, and 9.
6, 2, 4, 9.
You already
You
got
already have
6. You already got 6.
All right, well, they're right up next to each other on my list here, so 2, 4, and 9.
2, let's say 2 would become 6, and 4 would become 7, and 9 would become 8 under your scenario.
Yeah.
And that
And then
leaves us
the
2,
remainders of 5 and 7, which are the 2 things on withdrawing. and
Yeah.
terminating.
10 and 11. Actually,
9.
9 and 10. Thank you.
I'm sorry to sort of throw a
No, that's
spanner in the works here right
No.
at the last minute, but I just got it.
No, same way we all just got it today. And we're under the crunch because it's due the 15th, and if you remember before, they wanted the comments in 4 days. At the extension. Are you guys agreeable with that order exchange?
Can you read the order change?
Why don't I just make a copy of it,
Okay,
rather than, all right, I will. I'll take it from the top. 2, 6, 5, 7, 9, 4, 10, 1, 8, 3. You get it?
yeah, this one, 10 for another.
Great. Well, I didn't find that section, but I know it's in here. Or maybe it was in the email. No, I don't think it was.
What she does say is some of these issues need to be addressed before we can agree to move forward.
That's it.
That's
it. Where's that?
That's it on the second page. Top paragraph, third, fourth, and fifth one.
Yeah, there it is.
There used to be a
paragraph.
The first paragraph?
The paragraph that precedes the bullets.
Okay, that's where I wanted to put that we still, that doesn't include not participating in the action study. I think before we can move forward, could be read to say we're bowing out of the action study.
Right.
Well, we really actually can't do that until the next agenda item. Because we're gonna vote on whether or not to participate in the action. Thank you, Jeff, for finding that. I knew I wasn't crazy.
Although the board is committed
For participating.
Correct.
Okay.
We believe, and most other perspectives.
I'm sorry, Jeff, I didn't hear you.
Well, that particular sentence starts out, the board believes that most other prospective municipality members, et cetera. And so prior to that, we put in the words, the board intends to participate in the Axiom study, but believes that most other prospective municipal members would also see some of these fundamental issues. Once we've decided to move ahead.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of putting it in the sentences, we can agree to move forward on behalf of the town. Please note that this does not include, in a separate sentence, this does not include not participating. That's kind of dumb. In the Axiom section.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
If we vote on the next agenda item, then let's circle back and put that in there. Board voted to participate in the Axiom study,
Okay.
and
All right.
consistent with the
Yeah.
town's.
That's a good idea. I want to give Cliff a chance. Do you have anything to add?
No, and I talked about this beforehand, I
Okay.
endorsed what she said. I think that the board needs to know that Rockland voted last night to join the Midcoast Internet Development Corporation, which is what it's now called, as opposed to the coalition. I think you're right, John, the coalition probably faded into security, and now it's defeated by the corporation.
Okay. Do we know if Thomaston has been accepted yet?
According to this sort of slightly obscure email that I just got, yes, but I don't have any other external validation other than that email.
It would be. No, obviously Rockland hasn't been because they just did it last night.
Right.
So, okay, why don't we move to the next agenda item then? This was something that was voted on at town meeting, and it was approved for use of American Rescue Plan funds. I don't have the warrant in front of me. Was it 5,000 even?
Correct.
Yeah. Is there a motion? And I think that needs to be conditioned on when and if we receive our ARP funds, or when we receive them.
Well, I asked Matt about that, and I haven't gotten an answer. Did he answer you? About, is there a deadline for participating in the Axiom study, because it started already?
Yeah, I do not know the answer to that, and I've not found any other independent, but I don't think so. I mean, I think that it's ongoing.
He did tell us at one of the meetings that we wouldn't have to pay, actually got our money.
And he did say, okay.
Yeah.
And he said in
I missed
That's
that.
my
said it-
understanding.
Yeah.
He said,
I read
it is understood that this is based on.
Well, yeah.
I don't think there's a firm deadline.
Then he didn't answer the other.
Right, you're right. Yeah, but, I mean, and that's what the town voted. So,
Right.
you know, so I'm not, without that.
Okay, okay.
Is there a motion?
Yeah, I move that we join the Axiom study, at the Axiom feasibility study, in accordance with the town meeting vote that the Recovery Act funds and the amount of
Further discussion? All those in favor? Okay, let's jump back at Walter's suggestion and somebody want to wordsmith a line in there that would keep it very simple. It can be as simple as we do intend to participate in the action.
I think, yeah, I think we should say that the board voted, Tom Thomas, select board has voted to participate in the action study. The changes we made follow that. So then we have 1 foot in the
Yeah.
door.
So you're talking about separate lines.
Word town.
Oh, right before.
Yeah. Okay. So. We want to vote to execute and send this letter with all the changes that we've talked about here. Terry can work with. Did it come in a Word format or?
I think so.
Yeah, because it's gonna be our letter, right, not hers, so. Might be just as easy for you to make the changes. Not.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to tell them
As
what
long as
they
you have
are.
them all written down, I can't type as fast as you guys
Yeah.
changed.
I mean, rather than you telling them what they are, you're
Yeah.
gonna type them anyway.
Right,
so.
I can
Yeah.
change the letter and send it to her, as long as you have them written down.
No, send it
I could,
not to her, send it, email
To you
it to
guys?
Deborah Hall.
to Deborah Hall,
Yeah,
once it's
I
all
mean,
done.
we'll,
I'll let you look at it first.
yeah, well,
We just pass it around before it gets sent.
sure,
Yeah.
That'd be
Yeah.
great.
That's a
but we
lot.
can't change it again.
No, but you've already changed, just
Yeah,
Sure, the changes we talked about,
exactly,
that's,
right, but we can't have a debate about changing
Oh, no, no,
it
no.
outside. If we miss something, that's a technical clear.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's fine.
thank you.
It's just with all this reordering and.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Okay, good. That was complicated. We have to the 15th, I believe. And we sent it by email. Okay. Next item is update on the fire truck and boat. Why don't you start with the boat?
Oh, back in service, it was only out maybe a week. Thanks, no problems.
Okay.
That was the quick fix.
Okay, great.
Fire truck. Back,
It's back.
sitting in the station, I just brought it back about 5:45. Fixed.
Really?
The Band-Aid has been attached, let's put it that way. It is fixed, it is going back in service tomorrow night shortly after 6 o'clock. We're gonna put the wall, the equipment back on and stuff, but it's gonna go back in service.
But were you able to get a part?
The mechanics at Cushing Diesel did their own legwork and found the best of their abilities to get it. It's not perfect, but it's back in service. So they went out of their way to go one truck here, one truck there, pretty much all across the state of Maine to get the parts. And they had rebuilt it. And I drove it back tonight from Cushing. I never known it was wrong. I want to emphasize this is a Band-Aid, no guarantee the next time we drive it out of the station, it's gonna work. So, fingers crossed. We're going on from that part. That's the update on that truck. The truck committee has met. We have had communications with E1, who is where we bought the previous truck 4 or 5, 6 years ago. We're gonna keep moving forward with these discussions. We're waiting on prices from them. Everything appears to be snails right now on getting information. Because the price are changing left and right, just because of everything going on with the economy. And I just want to emphasize, 52, the tank truck is back, but it still needs to be replaced. And we would like to, we're gonna keep working on our side of it to come back and hopefully get your approval to make the order, because it takes about a year to get the truck. Gonna be 2 trucks, just want to keep emphasizing that, it's an engine and the utility that both need to. So, that is the latest and greatest.
Can I ask a couple of questions? Did you all the, what I had mentioned about the possibility of combining 2 trucks into one?
We did. And the first thing, one of the things that came up that if we eliminate the fire engine, everyone's insurance rating for their house is gonna go up. Because we're gonna change our rating from an 8, going back to like a 9, closer to it. Which that'll affect all of this town.
Hassle. I wasn't necessarily talking about.
Well, that's one thing that, well, no, if we talked about combining the two to eliminate one and go down to having two engines in the utility. And the insurance was one of the things we discussed that would affect everyone in town. The other part is we're gonna put a big depend on another town to fill one of our trucks locations or jobs, which right now, a lot of towns in this area, statewide, countrywide, can't get anybody to come out on calls. Everyone's numbers are going down. But the primary reason for the third truck is water hole. When we need to draft water, that's what that truck goes to. It goes to this water hole back here, gets our water going, so when the other towns or our tank truck comes through, they can fill it. And when we go down a truck, because it has to go out for yearly service, that truck now becomes more of a roll, going first out. It's gonna cause a bigger problem if we go from 3 to 2 engines. So life safety is gonna be put as extreme, that type of stuff. Is there anything else I'm missing, Chief, that we discussed?
So it sounds like your conclusion is that's not feasible.
Not after discussing it fully with the rest of the truck committee, that is not something we as the fire department want to push you to go. We need to stay where we're at, what we've got.
Yeah, and so we will continue, we won't be replacing the truck that gives us maintenance headaches.
Correct. Another 11 years. Well, and then on when we get the next one. Every 10 years, it's a new engine. To stay in compliance with national fire protection recommendations, ratings. So, sorry.
I understand. So are you saying that the insurance, not the ISO rating,
Right.
those would jump because we go from 4 to 3 trucks? Or is there another reason?
We go from 3 engine. We currently have 4,000 gallons of water sitting right here, or 3950 for anyone that wants to count. Yeah. But that actually, with that and all the training we have, we went from a 9, which is one step higher than not having a fire department at all, to an 8B, which no one probably noticed it, but your insurance went down, but you probably didn't see it. By our training and having all the water sitting right here, that upped or lowered our insurance number to a better rating. We can go another step, but it's gonna cost money because we have to assure salt water will be sufficient in this town to draft from.
So the trigger then is the capacity to carry water.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
And getting the next truck or next 2 trucks, we might be able to in the next 10 to 15 years, change our ISO rating again. We might end up with more water on trucks that might bump us to an 8A. Something to look forward to at that point.
I just wonder if everybody's insurance increase aggregated adds up to the cost of the truck.
I don't know.
Okay,
So
I don't either. So where do we go from here?
we're now back on track.
Swap out.
Yep. I actually do have the bill also from.
Yeah.
$2,800.
Oh.
Then you add in the toll bill.
28, I thought.
You add in the toll bill, we're at roughly $3,500.
So it costs more to tow it than fix it.
Almost. So
Okay,
We did
Well,
get
thank you.
reimbursed for the towing.
we did.
Yep.
Sweet.
and why the chief is here, I didn't bring it up under adjustments to the agenda, but I want to acknowledge you for securing that $58,000 grant for the Flyman system. Well done.
Thank you.
We just got an announcement today or last week from Senator Collins' office that a grant that Brian put together in the amount of $58,000 to put a exhaust system, building exhaust system for all the fire trucks and the ambulance.
And the ambulance is included.
So when they're running in the day, we don't get diesel fuel or whatever, diesel fuel wafting through the building and going into the office and it's been a problem for years. And so well done.
Yeah.
Do we need to accept that grant though, Terry? That was a question I emailed to you and I didn't hear back. My inclination is we do, and it certainly wouldn't hurt if we did.
Yeah. Do we want to discuss that?
Well, I was thinking,
Yeah.
while the chief's here, we can add that to the agenda if that's okay.
Yeah, I agree that we need to accept the grant and designate somebody to act as the and grant assurance requirements.
I think Terry's already been designated as that, right? And I saw.
Terry and I are the only two that have access to this system for authorization. And there's a meeting coming up, which Terry's has already volunteered to sit through.
It is.
So that takes me out of having to sit through it, but I emailed her, but I'm gonna get the printout version because I cannot take the time to sit through the meeting.
How come I can't get a printout version?
You already said you'd sit through it, so you. But I've already reached out to my FEMA contacts, made them aware that they didn't even know that I got awarded. Oh, they're ready to, they're the last ones to find out, but they're ready to go. They already warned me that there's this Zoom meeting that's gonna be coming up and they're gonna walk us through everything. There's an environmental something paperwork that has to be done. I've already done it. There's an EO requirement. That might be the same thing, but
One's environmental and one is equal rights.
one of them's done. I know that. I had it done back before I even found out, and they said, do not send it in. It was one of those things, you need to get it done, but you can't send it till you get awarded. So, but like John said, I did receive a call from Senator Collins' office, and Senator King's office as well. So apparently everyone in industries with fire service finds out that you've got a grant. So I've been getting numerous emails, phone calls from companies. Oh, what are you gonna buy? Not what you're selling. Apparently they get told we got a grant, but they didn't get told what we're going for, so.
Okay.
So I will make a motion that we accept the grant from FEMA for the fire department and that the fire chief and the town administrator be authorized to execute any documents required.
Okay, further discussion? Go ahead.
Just for clarification, so we're all aware that, yes, we got awarded 58,000. It actually comes down to like 56, I believe. We have to pay 5% of the overall, already in my budget.
Yep.
Take care of that. So,
We're aware.
okay, just
Yeah.
making sure everyone's aware.
But still,
And
5% is a lot better than 100.
Yeah.
Discussion,
The net is 53,809.52.
Yeah.
further discussion? All those in favor?
Good job,
Again,
Ryan.
good job. Okay.
These, the two gentlemen that I've been working with, who's Terry will be, they are walk you right through it, so. And I also did, just if I can, send a thank you to Bill Napier. Thanking him because he did the narrative. He took all my information and made it look great.
I think he's retired.
That do probably why he didn't reply. Okay?
Yep.
Anything else for me?
Nope, I don't think so. Okay, let's move on to the Library Community Center Facilities Committee. At the last meeting, Jeff volunteered to provide a draft of a solicitation, if you will, for volunteers, as well as a statement of 20,000 foot duties of the committee. It's so short, I'll read it. And if anybody wants a copy, we can make copies of the draft. The town of South Thompson Select Board plans to appoint members to the Library Community Center Facility Committee at their regular meeting on September 7th, 2001. They are soliciting nominations / volunteers and request names to be submitted to the town administrator by August 2021. Please include contact information, a brief bio, and statement with the reasons the nominee / volunteer would be good for the committee. The committee initially will have two primary goals. One, raise money for initial designs, followed by funding for final designs and construction. Two, work with professionals to create initial designs and cost estimates, followed by final design and construction oversight. The select board intends to appoint members initially to two subcommittees to begin these two primary tasks. The select board currently plans to appoint one committee chair to serve both subcommittees, or maybe on, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Nominees, volunteers should indicate which committee they would prefer. The select board will appoint 4 members to each subcommittee, 9 total committee members. Thank you, Jeff, for putting that together. Thanks, Walter. I have some, but turn it to you first.
Reflect on what we discussed.
I think it's given the time of year and the Labor Day holiday and stuff, I'd like to see the date move to September 24th. Give people some time to talk about it.
I just picked.
I know. And then have the applications due sometime after Labor Day. I think people are just focused on family and visitors and I'd like to get some time to get it circulated.
So our next select board meeting is after this. 28th of September.
28th? Yes, 28th. I wrote 28th. I read 24th.
So change the 7 to 20.
And then have the applications due sometime after Labor Day.
Well, we have a meeting on the 14th. Well, so maybe we could review.
I don't think we did. Oh, we moved it to the 7th.
Yeah, I don't have that.
We did.
Because I'm not here. I'm not here on the 14th.
Yes, September 7th and the 28th.
We don't have to have them due on a select board date.
Yeah, I was
Right.
saying,
We
you
can
know,
have them come in anytime.
and we can look at, we don't have to look at them in a meeting. We can look at them individually, like job applications or something. The second thing is, I would like to put after the 2021, just a brief statement of the purpose. The purpose is to fundraise and design for new construction. I just think that's sort of missing in here. And I also would like, and maybe we don't need to put it in there, but I want people to understand that this is I anticipate this to be a long-term commitment.
Oh.
And should we put that in?
Yes.
I mean, multiple years. That doesn't mean you can't resign, but I mean, I'd like at least to get somebody who goes in with their eyes open.
I agree with that. And I also think the starting point for purpose is town meeting.
Which, yeah. Lift that. Language from that. Agreeable, okay. And the rest of it I'm fine with, except for do you want to have say to serve on both subcommittees? Serve both subcommittees. Is there a different meaning?
Yeah, I think, and I guess that's what we want to decide. Do we want to say that the person we appoint as the committee chair is also the subcommittee chair of each of the committees?
I don't see that necessarily, but I do think that the chair should be a member of each subcommittee.
And that's the distinction. Serve both committees that he would be serving, or she would be serving as the chair on both committees. That would be on it, and they can pick whoever they want. The sub. And is for basically 5 members of each subcommittee for a total time. Is that a good number? Or?
I like 9. I mean, I think bigger than that gets a little unwieldy, but if you're gonna break it down into subcommittees, you know, that's, I like that idea, which came from Beverly St. Clair, by the way. But Walter?
What's your question?
Oh, yes, question.
Yeah.
Is 9 a good number?
Oh, I think 9 is a good number, and I also think that you can imagine a chair being appointed who has expertise in grant writing and fundraising. Not-for-profit organizations and bylaw, whatever. That person may not know about how you start out of construction. So that person would logically, in my view, not want to be chair of the doing that work, the subcommittee, and vice versa, by the way.
Right. Someone might have great design stuff, but don't have a clue where to. Okay. Okay, are there any comments from anybody in the audience?
Excuse me, John, could you ask the speakers to identify themselves for YouTube?
Sure.
I'm sorry, do what?
Could you identify yourself for the YouTube?
Sure, this is Sandra Wallace. I'm just thinking that if you've got 2 subcommittees with 4 members each, and they ever have a need to vote on something.
5 minutes.
So I just want, are you making clear that the chair of the committee is on both
Yeah,
subcommittees?
that's the discussion we just had, whether we want to put the word on. Yeah, but thank you. Other comments from the audience?
I'm just curious how
Can you
want-
identify yourself?
Sandy-wise, how will advertise, how will we know to apply for the committees?
Well, I assume we'll put it on the website, send it out on the email,
Once you have this, I can send it out on this,
send it out on the email listserv.
It's really hard for me to hear, I'm
So
sorry.
we can put it on the website, we can post it where we normally post things, we can send it out on the email listserv, which now is up to
77.
177 people.
Plus
Still,
5 I haven't added because I came in today.
yeah. Still not many out of 1,400,
No,
but we're getting there. And we can, I suppose we could take out an ad. I don't know if we wanna, they're so darn expensive.
What will the vetting process be? How will you choose?
The 3 of us will make the choice.
How will you interview people? What's the process? Or just, are we to fill out I'm just curious.
Yeah, well, according to this, we're asking people that are interested to submit a contact information, a brief bio, and a statement with reasons the nominee would be good for this committee. Yeah, I mean, I think we'll just, if we're fortunate enough to have 9 applicants. Yeah, it's a decision we'll have to make based on the pool. I don't, go ahead.
Our local group has been passionate for following this from the beginning. Oh, yeah. Why don't one of us call him up and explain what we're doing? Maybe he'll write an article.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have good relationships. Oh, okay, no. No, yeah, that would be great. And I mean, I don't know how else, what else we can do. I mean, so. So we've agreed to the date changes. We agreed to.
what was the date that you want applications by, or
Oh, we didn't actually specify something. I'd say at least a week before maybe 10 days before, in case somebody, we want more information or something.
And so.
I don't know. If
That's
a
a
day of
Saturday.
Well,
How
okay.
about the 17th?
That's a Friday.
That's a
we're closed.
Oh, 16th.
Sure. You called me.
I did. You didn't answer.
No, I didn't.
Okay, so I'll make the changes and then everybody. If you're good with them, just let her know.
And I can send them out.
I will say that I've said this before, and I don't know if we have agreement on the board. I'm interested in appointing people that support the mission. I'm not interested in appointing people that support renovation. And I've already made that clear to one person who expressed an interest. I personally, that I know supports renovation, and he has to be considered for the committee without solicitation. And I emailed him back and I said, candidly, I'm interested in appointing someone who's support the mission. So everyone knows that up front.
I do have a question. Will all meetings be open to the public?
Oh, sure, they have. Unless they're in executive session for a particular statutory reason, which I.
No, there should be.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're hiring, they're selecting an architect.
Yeah, something like
Or
that.
construction firm.
Yeah. Could be, but executive session is governed by state statute. Okay, we want to approve it with the amended changes.
Sure, I move to approve. Second.
Changes.
The amendment.
Further discussion?
Why don't we vote?
Approve the revised budget
We moved and
committee.
seconded, but we didn't vote.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
We did, you know.
Yeah.
Oh.
I
thought
because I don't count. I thought you were raising your hand. Okay, I'll do it again. All those in favor? Okay. Okay, approve the revised budget committee policy. Thank you again, Jeff, for.
Minor.
Yeah.
Minor change.
So basically, we're just going back from 9 to 7 members, correct?
Yep.
And so we now have no vacancy, correct? Correct. What a way to get no vacancy.
For the time being.
Okay, is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Discussion. No, all those in favor? Okay. Moving right along.
Actually, can I ask Jeff a question?
Sure.
Just take Word version of the current policy.
But I.
Do you know how to use track changes in Word?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, that's what I normally do when it's complicated, when you're only changing 9 to 7, I figured that you guys would know what the changes.
But I read it, reread it.
I'll see if there's something you're trying to.
Okay, personnel policy update holidays. The purpose of this is to incorporate Juneteenth, National Independence Day as a holiday under our personnel policy. Terry's put a draft out just inserting that under the holidays. That is now a state and federal holiday, or at least. Is it? Okay. Yeah. Well, it's a state. I think so. Was there a motion to amend the policy as Terry presented the draft? Adding those 4 words.
Changes to the personnel policy.
Second. The discussion.
I'd not to put some kind of words in on, if it falls on a Friday.
No, that's.
You're just
that's a-
gonna leave
that's-
that to you.
That's a given underneath the state laws.
Okay.
They have it written out very clearly, except for when you closed on Fridays, it kind of adds a little.
Yeah.
So,
A little nuance.
yeah,
Okay, further discussion? All those in favor?
Thanks,
Thanks,
Terry.
Terry. Get those 4.
have a day on.
Okay. You'll probably work anyways.
Probably. Does seem to happen that way.
All right. Skateboard park maintenance. Also, you sent out an email. I don't remember exactly what
Well, what Camden did was pretty much a volunteer effort. I think the history here is interesting, because I think what happened was Camden's administration or town manager, they were going to tear that skate park down, and they were going to give us a lot of the stuff. And then my friend Wyatt got wind of that and organized a rebuild, renovate, and fix up and relocate, which they did with mostly residents, but they had 2 expert volunteers who were carpenters, and one was a skating expert. And neither of them lives in Camden, so he's lost because he's a Camden. He grew up in Camden as a skater and a carpenter, and he came to help as an expert, but lives in like. So they did the work. They raised $5,000, and they turned it over to Camden as an advantage because they're in the public works department. They own that now. So that's how they're doing it. There's one thing that I haven't followed up on is there's a group in Belfast that's into skate parks. There's a fellow there that I'm going to try to track and Wyatt will come here and assess what's going on here and make his recommendations, but he's just interested, expert.
Okay. So, so we have a park that has issues, at $300, and nobody who, at this point, who knows how to do it. Problem. I would just wonder if we should try to see with that $300, or we could get a volunteer carpenter or someone to take a look at it and maybe fix some of the most egregious things where screw heads are broken off and sticking out, and I don't know.
Well, I think your idea of having him come and value.
Do you know when he might be able to do that?
I'll call.
Okay.
He works for a living, so.
Yeah. No. I mean, maybe it's not as bad as I think, but when I see screw heads broken off, that's not a good thing.
Well, we could, yeah, I mean, we have that, and usage is increasing now. It may decrease. That goes for the last year or so. Usage increasing, just as you drive by.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll keep that on the agenda. My local option vote for a sale of beer, wine, and spirits on Sundays. I would basically invite a motion to ask Terry to draft a warrant for including that on the. This has to be done by referendum, including it on the November referendum along with that. Yeah, CMP corridor and whatever else is gonna be on.
It's a bond issue and.
Okay. If someone is so inclined to move, we can get that done and execute a warrant. She can have it in her back pocket when the time comes, post it. Because it's gotta be posted quite a bit in advance. It's not just 7 days.
Right, is it 30, isn't it?
Something like that, I mean, you know, but, so basically we need a town warrant. Have to do it. Yeah.
We need a public hearing too.
Yeah, because it's a warrant article on
On the ballot.
so it has to be done by separate vote, so that means.
I would assume we do. I'm not 100% sure of that.
I move that we ask Terry to draft a local option vote article for the November election.
Yeah, the whole warrant, because we have to elect a moderator, even though it's. Further discussion? All those in favor? One little editorial, I just so, you know, with that referendum coming up, I'm intending at the next meeting to request an agenda item for us to revisit the idea of the referendum vote. I'm not sure we're done with this COVID. And we have to do that 90 days before the town meeting, so that would give us plenty of time. We have to hold that vote 90 days before. So. You look perplexed.
Yeah, I thought we had to have a town meeting. A
We do,
special
but
town
it's a
meeting
referendum, isn't it?
to make the change.
Oh, I thought it was a referendum.
Oh, really?
No. Huh? I think it is. It is, but we'll check, I'll check that out. But anyways, I want to pursue that. I just want to let you know. I know, Jeff, you don't necessarily agree. Correct. So, well, and just so everybody realizes too, the only thing we would have to put on referendum would be the election of school board and select. But we would have the option of putting questions or not on referendum. So
And don't you still have a regular town meeting?
we don't have to, but that would be up to the board whether it did by referendum or, or did it by open town meeting, or some questions would go on referendum, some wouldn't. So anyways, for another night.
Well, we could put the budget on the referendum too. I think John and Kristen Collins would
Yeah.
say that that's not a perfect practice.
No. Okay. Update on EMS regionalization, ambulance service.
Did Amy come on?
Is Amy on?
She was on earlier. We'll keep moving then. Road shoulder improvements and sidewalks. This is a request of Beverly St. Clair. I don't see Beverly here tonight. Beverly basically emailed me and just felt that a lot of our shoulders, not only on, he's talking about Dublin Road, which is a state road and not our responsibility, but in particular, Dublin Road shoulder was very difficult, crowded, bushes coming in. And I emailed her back and I said, sounds like you're talking about every road in South Africa, state roads and others.
Yeah,
So-
that is the dilemma with it is that you can't just react to that road needs to be fixed, that road needs to be fixed. You've got to have some kind of prioritization and a plan. Otherwise, in favorites and one to the other. And I can tell you that right after she sent that, the road got cleared because it was on the state's list to do it.
Which had nothing to do with her request.
Correct. But even the state, they will accept town input for the roads and priorities. They want a plan. What is your first priority? What is your second priority? What is your expected time? So you can't just go to them and say, hey, we think that road needs to be fixed, because they got to put it in their 7-year plan. And so they want you to plan it out. So this is more than that. You can't just knee-jerk react.
Well, plus there's a whole different kettle of fish between, smoothing shoulders. We need to do on a lot of our town roads for berm removal purposes. And sidewalks. I mean, we're talking cost-wise, it's talking here and here. So I was hoping she would come tonight, and she asked about this. Perhaps we can take it up at another time. It's nothing we're gonna solve tonight, but I mean, we do have, a lot of our roads just getting bushes cut back. Helpful before, but that's also expensive. I was talking with Nate Bennett, just to Westbrook, just to trim Westbrook Street back. He told me it would be like $45,000.
He brought it.
Yeah. And it's a slow process. You gotta have flaggers on most of these roads, and there's 2 people right there and equipment, and so. Personally, I would think that would be a priority before invest in, certainly invest in sidewalks. And we had a sidewalk committee years ago, but we never really, well, we had a little bit of, had a plan, correct? Or
Right, and, I mean, they met for 3 years and had a plan with the state, but the town kind of, because it was gonna require the town to put up some money to do the design work. And really the fruits of that whole committee was, and I hate to admit it, is what ended up happening there by the gig store and all the bumps and shoulders and what happened in front of the post. Result of that committee.
Oh, okay, I'll contact her and say, geez, I put it on the agenda, I didn't thought you were coming.
She's really patient, so she said sorry.
Okay. Well, we can.
That's
But just to clarify, Amy did go to the meetings.
They haven't.
They haven't.
they took the summer off.
Yeah, okay, good.
She said she's waiting for Camden to set it up, and she'll let us know as soon as she has.
Okay, so that's the other.
Can I ask David a question? You know about that regionalization effort? Okay. I want to know if it's just ambulance or whether my impression was that it was fire ambulance.
Yeah, she didn't really say.
Okay, well, we'll ask her when she comes.
Okay, American Rescue Plan. We really have sort of two issues here. One is the solicitation from Knox County, and one is we're going to discuss possible uses of our own funds. I have some thoughts, but I'll turn it over to you guys for starters. We've actually had the discussion, brief discussion once, Walter, when Jan was here, if you recall, regarding uses of our local. So my list is pretty, although I did add one thing. Anybody want to jump in?
I think Knox Clinic is just an absolute incredible asset for the community. I'm personally favorably towards, and we're not the only ones that are going to need this letter. And I'll perhaps let Cliff talk about it. Here's at the clinic. Want to?
No, I'm happy to see that. So that everybody knows what the clinic is. It's a clinic that's been around for 20 years. We're currently located in the building that used to be the old General Hospital, up on the second floor. People with no payment ability for healthcare, but more than that, the clinic also has full service in dental and also in behavioral health, which makes it almost unique in community clinics like it. And we also do distance health for people who live on the islands. They come in, so we do telehealth and really comprehensive care and take care of a fairly stable group of people. And the physicians are all volunteer. Part-time physician assistant, part-time nurse, part-time licensed clinical social worker, therapy, psychotherapy, and a part-time dental hygienist, and a full-time director. The budget for the clinic roughly is $300,000 a year, and that includes some grants, some small grants, but mostly philanthropy. I think it's an enormous community service that where we know what healthcare costs, and we know that there's still, despite the fact that Dave has done the Medicaid transition, there's Medicare, there's CHIP, and there's the Affordable Care Act, there's still people who fall through the cracks, and those people need to be cared for. And I should just one last thing to say is that the other thing is the clinic depends tremendously on the collaboration of Penn Day Medical Center, also for community physicians, many of whom provide free care or highly reduced care. And I've had some of my own patients seen by surgeons who operated at no cost on the patients with the operating room and those services provided by Penn Day Medical Center. So you don't see that in the newspapers at all. It's just a service going in our community, and I think extraordinary.
Last count was, that was probably two years old now. They had provided over $10 million worth of medications to patients.
Well, I certainly had helped broader sense on my list, but anyways, other thoughts, comments? Not just on Knox, but anything?
I strongly support it as well. And I still not comfortable that we don't have money in hand or even a promise of the money, an estimate on the date. And we have for sure committed some of those funds. I don't know how much that's $200 for inoculations, which again I support. And if you go back to the ARP documents, they had like 3 or 4 categories. One of them was public health as one of those. I strongly support that. And I think the other one, almost all the other in the categories have other agencies that are primarily responsible for it. But I think nonprofit medical facilities, nonprofit organizations, there is no ARP equivalent for things like the Rotary, Lions Club. None of those, all of those saw a significant decrease in the money that flowed into it. And there is no federal way of funding that except for at the local level. And I don't see the county doing it. So I think municipalities are the only ones that could provide those funds. And I'm kind of, I think those are our funds to expend. I personally do not want to give any of those funds to Knox County to spend. I don't want to give it to the state to spend. I think the funds that our town ought to be spent. My high priorities were COVID-related vaccinations. We can't really do the testing or the tracing. Those and do the medical expenses, especially nonprofit, and any other nonprofits that can demonstrate an impact. Those are where
Like I said, I reviewed a list at an earlier meeting, much more broadly than specific agencies. One thing, and I'm just going to read it down. I'd like, and I don't know if Terry's had it yet, but if we had a revenue loss, I'd like to, as a town, I'd like to make ourselves whole for that. My suspicion is we probably didn't.
I wanted to double check my numbers before I came tonight, and the phone rang off hook today, so I didn't, but it doesn't look like we did.
Yeah, I don't think we did either. You know, when you take the period, you got to calculate it over. We did lose revenue in ambulance and we lost revenue in excise, but it kind of, when you look at it over a year, it kind of came back.
Yeah.
And then we got some extra revenues for things, and so.
as we did get reimbursed for things like the additional personnel that the ambulance and the fire department had to put on to cover the.
Yes,
Yeah.
we've got the first payment. We haven't gotten the second one yet, but it has been, it's gone through the process, and now it's at the point where they're just doing the check. It's been approved. The final award letter's been approved. It just takes a while to go through the
Yeah, and it was, the first one was substantial.
29,000.
Yeah, so I mean, in some ways, that almost made up for the ambulance revenue, thing, or close to it. So, and then the next one's 7 or 8.
Yeah,
Plus
9.
nine. And then we got the Healthy Bee money. for some COVID-related expenses, so. But anyways, if it turns out we do have that, which I don't think we're going to, I'd like to see us do that. I'd also like to see us do some premium pay for all our employees who work through, say, March 15th, would be it a firefighter, an ambulance driver, ambulance, the EMT, the front office, based on their hours worked. And I'm thinking somewhere along the line of like 30 cents an hour or something. I did some rough calculations. I think that might cost us like $7,000, and it would give people that had the most hours here the only time. I don't know, $600. I think everybody put themselves out there, came to work, and that's one of the recruit uses as well. So I'd like to, I had health improvements and I had particularly dental. I would say I was hoping that we could maybe tie our money more strictly to direct services for Thompson residents rather than sort of just a donation, and it kind of gets in there like ragu. I don't know if that's possible or even necessary. I'm curious, for example, Cliff, how many South Thompson residents you serve?
3%. It's 3%.
Yes. So,
I mean, so that's an easy number. That's $9,000. 300.
Oh, right, but where did 3% come from?
The
It's
chart
in that
oh,
there
there
is,
is
letter.
Oh, I didn't see that. But
So it's 3% of their your patients.
Yeah. I think that's medical, not including dental. Those numbers, I can
in
verify.
any event, I don't know, I just, rather than just sort of donating to social service agencies or medical agencies in general, my initial thought was to make it more directly related to services. But, I'm certainly flexible on that. I'd like to see us look into the ventilation system for this room and the town office and downstairs. Simple ventilation system, that's another allowable cost. I would like, I'd like to, Amy was supposed to get back to me if she had any short-term needs, which she may or may not, and I know the state's taking money for PPEs and stuff like that. I also asked her if she had any ideas about how we could get at people that have medical issues that may be shut-ins or just aren't the folks that fall into the cracks, as Cliff just mentioned. We could somehow work with. It seems to me our ambulance department might be the best resource to, if they could hire someone, we could pay with these funds to do some identifying and recruiting for people that are falling through the cracks that none of us ever see or hear about. Again, I'm just sort of free here. We talked about broadband and Axiom and legal, and obviously going beyond that. I'm wondering if we could somehow or other, and I'm not hopeful on this, but if we word it as a climate change activity, if we could fill all or part of the shortfall on the Island Road project. If we approach it from a climate change point of view, and then
I think you can do it from another approach too. One of the negative impacts economically is the cost of services and construction material.
yeah,
So,
good.
so I
Good
think
guy. And how
that
would come at it at that end. Yeah.
negative economic.
The other thing, I know Betty has mentioned several times that the 2 daycares in town really took a hit. I don't know that that's true, but I wouldn't mind inviting them in or inviting them to have a discussion with us about that, because I think the last thing we want to do is lose a daycare, because obviously from what I'm reading, one of the things that's really impending is really impeding job filling vacant jobs is lack of daycare, and it's expensive, and hate to see us lose one of our two daycare, not that I'm suggesting they're in a financial problem at all. Betty mentioned that several times. I'd like to talk to them. I also would like to, even if it's a small amount, I would like to see if we could somehow reward our citizens who worked in low-paying jobs throughout the pandemic, who aren't our employees, through some sort of assistance. I'm talking about people who were CNAs at the hospital, worked staff at nursing homes, baggers at the grocery store. Again, I'm not thinking a lot of money. It just seems to me that the people that held themselves, exposed themselves to this, and in low-paying work jobs, should get some, even if it's a token recognition out of this. That's another thought I have. And then the last thought that I have is, can this somehow, along with the county money, be used as leverage to assist with the ambulance regional process being discussed? Nothing moves people like money. And so that's sort of my broad brushstrokes list. And I guess the other question is, it's not on my list, but do we want to do something similar to Knox County did, to invite people to give us ideas? I'm not sure I'm in favor of it, just bringing it up. And do we want to apply to Knox County for anything as a municipality? I understand from talking to Dorothy that they are going to have other ways to receive input, public input, not just this RFP, so to speak. But I'm not sure what that's going to look like.
They talked about sitting the towns down literally at a table. This was going to be the first. It looked like out there, what do the towns want, and just get everybody down and talk about it.
Because I really think that, our money is not on the ambulance regionalization thing that I'm talking about. Our money is not going to be enough to move that, right? Particularly if we do other things. County's money could be. And my sense is they're not giving $7.7 million to the Mid-Coast Internet Coalition. I've heard and watched and told me. But so where do we go? Where do we move?
I kind of like the idea of getting ideas from other people rather than us. All of us are smarter than any of us.
Well, I wasn't talking about ideas. I'm talking about, do we want to put out a solution?
Yeah.
And then I guess my fear is if we're not committed to putting a significant amount of money in that direction, and I kind of agree with Jeff. I think a lot of folks are already getting, notice I didn't put any school things here. And the reason I didn't is because they're already getting a lot of money. But so I guess, I don't know what nonprofits are getting. I mean, I'm agreeable to that, although I just feel we're going to get flooded with people that just want our money.
Right. And I think I feel better putting it out, solicitations to entities, something that exists as opposed to the general public. General public can come to one of these meetings and make it known. But I think sort of like what the county did. The county went down to the towns and said, "Towns, what do you want?"
Well, and nonprofits.
Oh, did they go to nonprofits?
Yeah, I think.
Sent out, we sent out an
Yeah, you got it right there. Yeah.
Same one that went to us.
deadline's August 30th.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we've got some businesses and a couple of nonprofits in the town that might be worth asking. I mean, some of the businesses have access to other funds, COVID-related funds, but some of them don't. And one of the big categories is hospitality, tourism, and travel.
Well, we got time, and we were told in that workshop to be strategic, the workshop Terry and I. Do we want to sleep on this for another meeting and think about it, maybe formulate some more, kind of try to whittle this down and.
Yeah, sure. I read the strategic from the Department of the Treasury, you know, their initial, and the first thing I could think of was, wait a minute, our priority, job one right now ought to be arrest the disease. You know, forget about strategy. If we don't do that, no strategy is going to come to fruition.
Yeah.
Which is why I like the vaccination thing, you know.
Yeah, we had 3 people so far that have expressed some interest. Is that, it hasn't really been had a lot of people kind of looking for, not a lot, but people,
There's been a lot of comments about this program.
both positive and negative.
Yep.
And, yeah, yeah. And you're saying more negative than positive? Really? And this is from citizens or from?
Yes.
And what are the comments like?
It's not fair. I got vaccinated and now people are
okay.
being rewarded. Then
Okay,
you
Because they progress.
then you have the people that call and say, oh, I go to the beach in South Thomaston, so can I get paid for my vaccine? And when you say, oh, what beach is that? And it's Lucia, and that's South Head. Well, oh, I go to the big store all the time. Does that count?
If anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the feedback I got, very positive, including Cliff.
Well, as Jeff's predecessor said so often, no good deed goes unpunished.
So, but my question specifically is, has anybody actually come in and filled out the little form?
No.
Okay,
Oh, really?
so it is so far has not been effective.
Well, they can't really, what are they gonna fill out until they've had their shot? I mean, they're asking questions about it.
Yeah, true, that's a good point, that's a good point. So have we had serious inquiries other than Lucia Beach? I know we've had a couple, you told me, so.
Yeah.
So it really hasn't taken off.
No, I think it's, they gotta make an appointment to go have their vaccine and then come in.
Well, we certainly got the word out.
Yep, oh, the word is out, John.
I don't think we need to spend any
And you didn't
money.
even need to advertise.
No. But and like I said the night we voted on this, I agree with you all. I don't care about the naysayers. I want to get rid of this. Yes. Comment?
John,
Oh, sorry.
just a point of information, I don't have any clue about the size of the money we're talking about here.
We're getting 109,000 over 2 years, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You read things all over the place, and as you pointed out, funds coming from here, funds coming.
Yeah.
Huge tidal wave of money coming. So
Yeah.
169 roughly.
Yeah, over in two tranches, that they call it, right?
Yeah.
I love that word, tranches.
Particularly when you're getting it.
Yeah. All right, well, why don't we think about it? I would, is there any objection if Terry figures out how many hours we'd be talking about if we did some premium pay for our own workers? I think that would be, and also I wouldn't mind pursuing some ventilation for here, and Terry's already doing that revenue work. It looks like I'm not gonna pay Okay, yes,
This is Penny Alley.
Yeah.
Running tonight. I did have a comment from Beverly. And because of the delay, it came after you started the article, but she said she was sorry she didn't attend in person, and she just wanted you to know that she feels that the road improvement, shoulder improvement should be part of the paving work and not a separate job, and that it's a public safety issue in town. So I told her I didn't have that.
yeah, I'll call her and invite her to attend the next meeting. Okay, we're good to go? Oh, do we want to respond to the county? I mean, do we want to ask them for money? For anything?
Yeah, let's ask them for $27,000. Help us with that, the road project.
And
It's justification is because
Tourism, travel, and
Tourism. Okay, because
and
because
and the
roads
cost,
themselves are not eligible.
right, but the cost to us significantly increased as a direct result.
are you willing to write that up? Do we on that?
I vote that we applied now for $30,000 to make up for the shortfall in the Island Road current.
I second.
A discussion, the reason I said 30, and I'm not being tongue in cheek is, hey, all right, I'm saying, at a minimum, we just want to, maybe we should make it 35. Actually, maybe we should. We got some legal costs coming that I'm factored into there.
Okay, all
I
right.
mean, they can always trim us back, so.
I move that we apply to the county. Make up for the economic loss due to COVID.
Road shortfall, right, yeah. Second, okay. Further discussion?
Yeah, good, interesting point. If there'd been no COVID, that project would have been done by now. And it's-
Maybe. Yeah.
Or pretty
You
close.
could make that argument.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. All those in favor? Oh, sorry.
Sonny has a question.
Go ahead, Sandra.
You
Can you identify yourself again? Sorry.
Sandra Wallace. So you can use the American Rescue Plan funds for things related to climate change, right? No?
No, it's not listed as
It's
one
not,
of
Oh,
it's
okay.
just one of our priorities, but I have seen some references to it.
But I was just going to point out, the reason you need to do the Island Road project, at least in part, is because the sea level's rise.
I think that's the primary reason we have to.
So
That doesn't
my
make it out.
doing this to respond to climate change.
And that's another thing that bothers me about this, and I think we gotta talk to someone, Kate or someone, that doesn't appear to be a pre-approval process. It seems like you can spend your money, and then if they come out and find you're ineligible, they gotta say you gotta pay it back, you know, and I don't, you know, so, anyways, all right.
Well, unlike us, I think the county's already received some of their.
Oh, yeah, because they got it direct.
They got it.
Portland's got theirs. Southportland's got theirs, Lewiston, Auburn, Bangor, they got it directly. We got it after the mistake and we did it. Right. Okay.
Yes.
Did we vote?
I don't.
Okay. In favor? Sorry. This is more just an update. Pleasant Beach, in my capacity as the non-compensated assistant road commissioner. Jerry brought me down, showed me where someone has neatly placed rocks. The ones up front are small, but they get bigger, and the last one is quite big. Take machinery to move it. In the right of way, Jimmy Calic took a look at it and said, no, that's not gonna work for the snowplow. They've got to go, they're well into the right of way. Plus, that opened up a whole other discussion about their new septic system, which is under the grassy area there, which is also appears to be in the right of way. And the soil scientist, when he put the forms out, I don't know if you noticed on page 3, he said, no, it appears that the fill extensions, which is basically the grading of the town, will cross into the road right away using the information available. An easement may be needed to permit the intrusion, and only easements can only be granted by town meeting. I don't recall that we ever granted one. And I think going back to when they did another system in 2017, they also intruded into the right of way because they didn't put the pipe on that front bedroom, the effluent line back to the new system, the way it's shown on the 30s drawing. They put it along the right of way, or in the right of way. And somebody has taken the pins out that show where the property town line is. This road was actually laid out in 1896. This is not a lost statute, a lost boundary road. This road was actually laid out according to the information that we have on the survey that Terry got a copy of. So I don't know what you guys want to do about this. I mean, removing pins is illegal. I'm not sure who did it, but I suspect I know who did it. And I mean, the number one priority is we got to get the rocks. And you know, even if it ends up we have to hire Calic to do it, and then we put a lien on the property. Although that may not be very successful because we're behind the IRS and we're $265,000 lien. Oh. So I was volunteered as the non-compensated assistant road commissioner to draft a letter under my name and under Jerry's name, telling them that they need to remove the rock. Whether we want to go further, I mean,
You give them a date certain, and if you don't have them removed by that, the town will.
right, what I meant by further was, do we want to go further with their other apparent intrusions? Having said that, it's a tough site down there to get septic, and the alternative used to be tanks flowing into the ocean and
Into the neighbors, actually.
and into the neighbors. But should we at a minimum ask them to bring it to us, and we'll go to town meeting and grant them an easement retroactively to close the loop on this?
Now, the way the plan reads, they needed a right of way for overflow of the earth.
Basically, to slope the grade.
My understanding is they actually.
Jerry believes that when they did the system in 2017, they didn't follow the plan. This was for the other house, the front house. They didn't follow the plan that Reserve drew up, the soil side, and put the effluent from the tank to the leach field in the right of way. Plus, there's some other pipes in there, according to Jerry, that are like scheduled 40 pipes that are white. I don't know what those are. Jerry doesn't know what they are either. I'm wondering if there was a ditch there and somebody at some time filled in that ditch and put a couple of pipes in there. Because I didn't want to get down in there because it's ticking and all really crowded. But there appears as though there's a culvert that starts on the uphill Maple Street, and it doesn't come out on the other side. So I'm wondering if that's what those pipes are. And Jerry's not sure either. But I mean, do we want to go down there and dig, excavate? I mean, I don't know how far you want to go with this.
I'm not interested in that, but I am interested in putting on those, and I do think we need to resolve the right of way issue
one way or the other.
Well, I don't know there's much to recall. You mean their intrusion?
Yes.
Yeah. And I also think we need to mention that removing pins, survey pins is a crime, I believe, under. So, they did it, I'm not saying, they did, but. Okay, well, I'll start with the rocks, more to follow. So this is the same person, correct me if I'm wrong, that you had a lot of issues with health issues with. Is that correct? Am I?
Yep.
He's renting out unhealthy places that he passed, so we don't even know at this point who owns it. Okay. Guilford Butler CMP account, I put this, I asked to put this on because since we took over the property, Owen and then Terry have been trying to get RC 13 to change the electric bill into our name, and they haven't. Although it
I
seems
have
like
an update on that.
today they did.
I emailed Peter this morning again, and shortly later, someone named Gail called me and said they have taken it out of RSU 13's name and filed in our court, so I called CMP, and starting on the 12th, it will be in our name.
So who's been paying it?
RSU 13?
RSU 13.
Okay.
But I didn't want that to go on forever, and then all of a sudden we get a, you know, a $900 unexpected.
He asked, I know Owen asked over and over again.
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
No, I have several times, but yep, we'll do it.
Well, that's why I finally put it on the agenda, because I figured if I put it on the agenda and we sent a letter to the superintendent, that maybe, you know.
No, you know, I think Peter's on our listserv, and maybe he got this agenda and he saw that.
Okay, so we get that, move the table list?
So move. Is there anything?
Yeah, the agenda item. Or, yeah,
Well, why don't we delete it? I move to delete it.
Okay,
Or eliminate it.
indefinitely postponed. I love that. Okay. So, all those in favor? Okay, tax due dates. Terry, do you wanna brief everyone on this minor issue or bill?
Yeah, minor issue. October 1st is a Friday. April 1st is a Friday. This apparently through everybody's radar when we set the tax date. We're not open on Fridays. We can be open all day, we can be open half a day, or we can just set payments on Monday.
I think we've gotta be open on Friday. If I take a day off or some time off from work, come down and pay my taxes, and the sign there that says, quit close, come back and pay them Monday, I'm gonna be furious.
Yeah, but
Do you think one person can handle it? I know it's a busy day.
I think normally it's a busy day, but people don't think we're open on Friday, so
yeah, I think most people are gonna pay it on Thursday.
I don't know.
Be done with it.
And if someone didn't, we could take it Monday. No penalties.
I'd prefer to and give someone a call. Could we be open just for that purpose and not do any other business? Or, well, that's foolish. A lot of people, when they come to pay the taxes, they do other things.
Yeah. It's due on the 1st, and the last time you can pay it in person is the day before that. That happens to bills all, I don't see.
Okay, I'll give them your number.
You know, I understand the dilemma. They have till the date that is due to physically come into the office to pay it. That doesn't mean that they can come in at midnight that night, does it?
Well, we have the authority to accept payments on Monday.
We have the authority to accept them on Monday if they're postmarked on the first, and they count for the first. No matter if we receive them on the 20th and it's postmarked the first, we accept it as the first.
So your opinion is we do have that authority?
Yeah.
You research that or? You want this Friday off, man. I like it.
Two of them.
That's right, it's 2 of them. 1.5. Well. What do you want to do? I guess we have I guess Walter, you're the,
Yeah.
you're the operative here. I think we,
Closed on Fridays.
okay, so we don't need to take any action.
And I'll make sure it's very well advertised on every place I can put it.
Just give him Jeff's number. Get that advertised.
Oh, I'm learning to take heat really well.
But we don't need to take any action at all. Audio in the community room, any updates? She's waiting to hear back from.
No, I haven't heard back. No. I'll yank them again.
Is that Gus or the other guy?
Both.
Okay.
And I know they both said they had just, everyone's doing it, especially now that they think we're gonna be going back to Zoom and everyone wants to have fancy stuff and.
We won't be if we get those vaccinations.
That's right.
And let's see, it's on here, electronics, communication.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it is too.
that'd be a good cause. Good Jeff. You go with Jeff Parker.
Oh, and also, I think our legal bills for Christian on the broadband are chargeable to this. Terry and I talked about setting up a special revenue account, just charging it out. I probably had a chance to do that,
I
but
haven't done
I
it.
think that'll keep it cleaner and so. Okay, tennis court update. Just wanted to let you know that Leslie and I spent about 3 or 4 hours in that bad crack on the far tennis court, and it came out pretty well last Sunday. We did that, and it was rather tedious. It's not perfect, but if I can get the net up tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to try to get the net one up. We can then have one court open. Not perfect, but you wouldn't play the Olympics on it. It'll be ready to go. And we also have an additional donation.
Yes, Rachel Snow, it was $100.
Is there a motion?
Donation for Rachel Snow, the amount of $100. Thank you, Rachel.
Discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Executive committee?
John,
Yes, sir.
this is the problem with you sitting over there. But, what about the shed that was there?
It's, we're gonna have to get something else.
Being unrepaired,
Yeah, well, it was in pretty rough shape when we took it up there.
but
And it's not working well. They don't really quite fit in there. Leslie's looking around in like a thrift shop or something for something that we can put out there and lock. Right now, they're not locked. They didn't vandalize the nets. Hopefully they won't. I have seen 3 or 4 people use the pickleball court and wish more people would, but the net's pretty easy to set up and take down, but it's really hard to get it into the box. That's the plan, to try to find something we can buy at a thrift shop or something that we can put it in. Or something like that, so. Okay,
now we have a net that's usable for the tennis court.
one of them was better than the other. Yeah, I think it'll be,
Do we have nets for the basketball?
not to my knowledge.
Not that I know of.
And I also wonder if we should use chain nets. We seem to be buying constantly nets and they get destroyed. We put chain nets up.
I would be willing to purchase those and,
Chain nets,
yeah, I put them up.
I think they're expensive. I mean,
Well, it'd be nice if we, it looks pretty bad.
it does. But the cracks in the basketball court, I think came out pretty well. We filled them with that.
Yes, I do too.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can just buy regular nets and have it off for the summer.
If you're willing to do that, I don't think anyone up here is gonna object.
Thanks to you guys. Thanks to Leslie for being the assistant recreation.
Just doesn't like it when I boss her around. Okay, did I say that? MMA Executive Committee, Terry, I haven't read this, so you're gonna have to walk us through this unless someone else.
No, I haven't read it either. It's pretty straight.
Yeah, and then you don't know anybody.
Um,
Well, I don't know.
actually, I know
anybody.
David Steer a little bit. Vote for three though, there's only three of them.
All right,
Previous
kind of-
one is vote one.
Okay, so is there a motion to vote the slated nominees for the MMA Vice President and Executive Committee members?
So
Further discussion? All those in favor? If someone's willing to volunteer to do it, let them do it. They hired a new director.
Share. Yeah, they did.
And we got a letter, sorry, that's under correspondence. That's just where we are, correspondence.
Before we leave that one, I would add to the motion that we authorize the chair to sign the voting ballot.
Second.
Further discussion? All those in favor? Terry, I'm gonna give this to you right now before
I'm gonna put it in an envelope right now.
no, you gotta fill it out.
Well, I guess I'll have to wait, because I don't want to do it personally.
Okay. Correspondence, is that it for items, new, old business? Okay, correspondence, we got a letter announcing that we received a dividend check on our workers' compensation from Maine Municipal Association for good safety in the amount of, what was it?
$2,791.
Yes, $2,179, so that's good news. Anything else? Got a note from Laney Hooper. Thank you so much for your generosity. I'm honored to be chosen for the Randall and Arlene Hopkins Scholarship. I'm looking forward to and excited for nursing school. Thank you again, sincerely, Laney Hooper. With sincere gratitude and appreciation. Did we ever get a list of those?
Yes,
Yeah,
it
well, it's Terry, yeah.
was Laney Hooper,
Oh.
Lily Judecki, and Ariana Whittemore. They're each awarded $1,000. It's in your background there.
Actually, we did have another resignation of Elaine.
Sure that, I don't think it's ours to accept. She's elected to, all right. And we can.
No, I agree with you, but she wrote us the email, I wanted to at least acknowledge it, and we need to recruit someone.
Right.
It is our job to appoint someone if we can find someone. I think you're right, now that I think about it, we didn't appoint her and she was elected, so you're right.
Got some good feedback. I had an exchange with her today. And very sad that a young renter interested in being part of the community can't find a home here. Move to Camden.
I was a little curious about that. Because she said she didn't use the word effective. She said that they're
No,
not
renewing.
renewing the lease.
Yeah.
I think that comes in the same category. I don't think they can legally require her to leave. I mean, she may be.
I believe she's.
But the lease expired.
Right.
It says they renewed right now.
Oh, yeah,
Right
with
now,
the,
you can't.
yeah,
You
okay,
can't.
because of the COVID. Right, yeah.
Because technically, if they choose to stay, you have to evict
Evict
them.
them.
You're not allowed to evict. And so,
Well, maybe she didn't want to fight that battle. You know, because I know a lot of people aren't renewing because leases, because, not a lot of people, but I've heard because you want to test the market waters for selling property right now. So they don't want someone to sign up for a 2 or 1 year lease, you know.
Camden real estate.
I did. We were driving through South Thompson. And I noticed your house.
Okay, so why don't we send out on the listserv and put a notice on the website? that, we're looking for anybody who's interested in a candidate for, anybody who's interested in being appointed to fill the remainder of Lane's term. Which would be,
Just 2 years.
Huh?
2 years.
even, no,
Because I know it was 3
she
years.
was elected.
3-year term. She was elected at or 20.
She won't, no, that's right.
She just finished the year.
Less.
So it's less.
You can figure out, I think the term ends, well, it would end in, I don't know, when did it-
June of 2023.
yeah, I think, yeah, double check.
Well, that's. So there's
Okay.
Adam Butler, Jason McLean, Ryan Minikis.
Well, this has been a long history. I mean, way back when we had people run for the school board. We had 10 candidates 1 year, and someone got elected, they lasted about 3 weeks, which is why we went to the alternative nomination. So people would at least have to think about it. It's been a struggle keeping someone in that seat. I mean, the school board's a load, it really is. Let them select, I think. Well, you're dealing with people's money and their kids.
Yeah, and there are so many people who are in it to be on.
Right. Because they
Doesn't work good.
we also send someone willing to draft a note thanking her for her service? Walter, would that be, you know her better than I think either of us do on our behalf.
I will certainly do that.
Okay, thank you. We need to schedule future meetings at this point. We're scheduled through September. Maybe we ought to at least get October on the calendar. Even if it's tentative.
Be the 12th.
I'm gonna have a wedding, one of those. 12th and 26th, I'm good to go. Harry, anything you want to update us on? No. You don't have to.
No,
Want to go ahead and schedule the public hearing on the 28th?
no, that would be good.
Sure.
Yeah, this is a
This
different.
is for the general, the GA amendments to their appendices that we just did a little while ago, that was supposed to do in October.
Oh, I think he's talking about
Actually, I was talking about both.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Okay.
Okay.
And we had our close.
Thanks.
Hearing that, I move to adjourn.
I second.
Discussion, all those in favor? That wasn't too bad.